Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Art. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Darren. This is me on the screen, and you might be able to see my face too. Anyways, so today I'm coming to you as a certified Glide expert and ambassador. And what that means is that I work really closely with the Glide platform. I build Glide apps for clients, and I also try to share Glide as much as possible because I think it's a really, really cool platform. I'm excited to share it with you all today. I am a full-time software prototyping specialist. So this is my full-time gig, building apps with no code for businesses and startups. And then as a part-time endeavor, I also help out the Glide team with doing workshops like this, where I share Glide with people just like you. So I'm excited to get started with you all today. Today, the goal for what you're going to learn is I'm going to show you how to get started with Airtable as kind of like a database of storing information, and then how to turn that into an actual app that you can interface with live, like on your phone. So it's an app that you can work with on your phone that you can then like update data inside of an Airtable database, and show you how to build all of that from scratch. So we'll get started with Airtable, and that's kind of where we'll start. I'll talk about some different use cases that you can use Glide for and Airtable as well. And then also at the end of this, once we get through the build, I'll share some resources with you of like where you should go when you want to take your next step with Glide. And then, like Art mentioned, we'll have a nice Q&A at the end. You can ask me anything, and I'll get those questions answered for you as best as I can. So, what's Glide? That is the question. I'm sure some of you may have heard of Glide. I'm sure some of you have never heard of Glide. Glide started with this really simple idea of, how do we make it easier to create software? That's what we're trying to do in this no-code space. And I'm sure you as a no-code developer, like, you just want to create software with no code, create it really easily. And there have been a lot of different approaches to creating software with no code. But Glide's initial idea was, okay, how about we turn a simple spreadsheet into an app? And that's where everything started with Glide. It was, okay, we have a Google Sheet, let's turn that into an app. And Glide has since evolved from there to integrate with different data sources. But in the end, all Glide is trying to give you, as a no-code developer, the power to create beautiful apps and websites without code. And all you need to know is like some simple spreadsheet skills, and you can create anything that you can imagine. So Glide started out with apps. So creating apps you can use on your phone. So a really simple way to create an interface, an app-like interface, get it on your phone, and turn your data into a beautiful and powerful mobile app. Last year, however, Glide released an additional product, which is called Glide Pages. And these are for creating more of a desktop experience. And these are great for dashboards or any kind of like workflows where you're primarily going to be interacting with your application on desktop. Now, both of these apps and pages are fully responsive and can be downloaded onto your phone. But apps are more for like mobile first applications. So you can think about like deliveries, or when you're out on like a construction site doing things, like you're mostly going to be interacting with Glide on your phone, the app on your phone. But if you work primarily from your desktop and you're managing, you're on the phone managing stuff for like your company or something, that'd be more of a Glide Pages application. Today, however, I'm going to be showing you how to work with Glide apps. And at the end of this, if you have to leave early, or are on a lunch break or something, I want you to know, and what we want you to know, is that it's easy to Glide. That's kind of our motto. We want to make it as easy and simple for you to create software with no code. And Glide's mission is to create 1 billion new software developers by 2030. And the only way that Glide's going to be able to do that is if it's really, really easy. And so that's what I want to show you today, is how you can quickly create a really powerful application with Glide. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to get out of the slide deck here, and we'll hop over to Airtable first. And like we kind of talked about, so we're going to talk about turning an Airtable base into a Glide app. And so where I would like to start with that is let's just talk about some use cases and talk about the data. And then once we have like the data that we're going to be working with, we can turn that into an app. So I'm in a fresh Airtable account. I just created this specifically for this call, or this workshop. So everything's going to be done from scratch. And where I like to start with these kind of demos is on the Airtable templates page. And these are all just like use cases that Airtable finds very relevant, or most of their clients are using. So a lot of Airtable users are using Airtable to do these things. So, and this kind of meshes with Glide really well. So really you can go in a lot of different directions. So I'm trying to word it where we're going to go somewhere. Anyways, so let's talk about use cases. So with Airtable, you can build things like content calendars, project trackers. I did a demo last week on creating a simple applicant tracker. So tracking people that are applying for your job or something like that. But you can see all the different use cases that you could build a Glide app on top of Airtable for. So whether you work in marketing or real estate, or maybe you just want to do something fun for yourself at home. I love creating Glide apps for just like random use cases for me and my family. But since we are no-code devs, I thought it'd be fun to start in the software development space, and we could look at maybe an example of building an app there. And so with development, you're creating products. We could do an app for launching a product, or researching our users for our product, or setting up some kind of user story mapping. So there's a lot of different use cases. But what I think is really relevant to all of us here today as developers is bug tracking. So if you create a product or an application, whether you like it or not, and though no code makes this easier, there's not as many bugs. There's typically things that don't work as they are expected. That's what bugs are. It's you thought something should work this way, but it's not. And so you need to go fix it. So what I thought would be fun, just to demo this, is let's create a bug tracker. So if you want to follow along, the reason I'm starting from a template is so that you can use this and you can follow along with what I build, and you kind of see it. So if you go to, just like I did, go to the Airtable template page, go down to software development, or you can just search here for bug tracker. I'm going to click on use template. And then this is going to copy this Airtable base, this template, into my account, and it would do the same for you if you're following along. All right. So I think it's let's just take a moment to talk about Airtable and why you would want to use it. I'm assuming you are familiar with spreadsheets. You have rows. Let's see, let me clear out some of this stuff. You have rows of data and then columns of different types of data. This is a very natural, and it's been around for ages. This is how you store data. And then when you get into creating like actual software, you think about creating like a database, the big mysterious black box of the database. And that can be a little overwhelming. And Airtable took this approach of, what if we gave people the strengths of a database, but delivered it to them through a spreadsheet interface where everyone's pretty comfortable with that. And so that's kind of where Airtable is. It's kind of like a really good middleman of being a really easy spreadsheet, but also being a really robust database system. And so in Airtable, you have different tables. So we have here, you can see these are the bugs and issues that we're going to be working with in this workshop. And then we have team members that are assigned to those bugs and features. And then inside of the bugs and issues table, we have different columns, or Airtable calls these fields, and these have different types. So you can see here, this is a name field with text in it. This is an attachment field with pictures in it. And here's a status field for the different statuses that each one of these bugs can be in. And that's all good and well. There's a few things I want to call out that are really nice about Airtable as well. Airtable gives you these things called views, which are basically like applications, like really low-level applications on top of your Airtable base here. So you can click on different views here to view the bugs or the tickets or the rows in different statuses. So this is like a Kanban style view. They also give you a view here for adding issues if you wanted to just use this page directly. We're going to be turning this into a Glide app, but I just wanted to show this is a really cool feature. You're able to add in different views right within Airtable. That's one of the things that set it apart. Another thing that's really cool are extensions and apps. So Airtable gives you the ability to add things natively on top of your table here. And then Airtable also gives you an API out of the box. And I'll quickly show you where that's at. If you're more experienced with coding, this would be really, really nice for you. So here is the Airtable API. And so right out of the box, you can quickly, like, it just creates for you an API. So if you were to go to an API tester, you could grab this URL, and it would then list all the records inside of your Airtable base. So in other applications, you typically have to use like a third-party service to integrate with your spreadsheet with an API, but Airtable provides it out of the box. All right, that's enough about Airtable. Let's go ahead and talk about turning this Airtable base into an app. Let me clear all that out. Okay. So what I want to do, the use case or the example we're going to show is let's create a simple app where we can look at all the open bugs from our phone, and then we can also add and edit those bugs from our phone. So pretty simple, but this Airtable base, you wouldn't want to pull this up on your phone while you're out on a job site or something. You're working with a client on your phone. It'd be really kind of congested and things. And so this is a great example of, if you want to turn this into a mobile app, let's do this with Glide. So I'm going to go over to Glide here, and the domain for that is glideapps.com. And once you sign in, register with your account, you'll end up on this dashboard here. And to start a new project in Glide, we just create or select new project, and we'll just call this a bug tracker. Like I mentioned before, you can create both apps and pages in Glide. We're going to be doing an app today, which just means the application is mobile first. And then we have different data sources in Glide. And today we're talking about Airtable. So I'm going to select that one. That's where we're going to create an app from. And if this is your first time connecting Glide to your Airtable base, you will need to link those with your Airtable API key. Let me show you where that's at. So inside of Airtable, if you go to your account in the top right, and then click on Account, if you scroll down here on the overview page, there's a section called API. And right now it says there's no personal API key, and so I would need to generate one. So this creates an API key, and anybody with this API key can access basically all of your bases inside of Airtable. So you want to keep this safe. Since this is just a demo account, I don't mind copying it there. So you just want to grab this API key, come over to Glide, paste it in there, and then click on Connect. So what that did was now it went to my Airtable account and looked for all of my Airtable bases. And so since I only have one in there, it's showing that. And so now I can click on Bug Tracker and create app. Now here, I just want to show you, this is where the magic's about to happen. Glide's about to create an app or auto-generate an app based off my data. So let's just I'm not doing anything. Hands are up. Let's see what happens. All right. So if you're just getting started with Glide, before we get to the fun part, so here it's saying new columns found. Do you want Glide to automatically generate things for them? Yes, we do, because we want Glide to do all the work for us. And then before we get to the actual app, just a little tour here. In the top, this is kind of our navigation. We have the data editor where we can see our data inside of Glide. We have our layouts and features page where we can design our apps. And then we have our settings where we can customize all the things behind the scenes. And then in a second, or in a little bit, we're going to publish our app. All right, so like I mentioned, Glide's going to look at our data and then generate an app based off that. So right out of the box, you can see we have 3 different tabs here, one for features, one for bugs and issues, and then one for team members. And you'll notice if we go back to our Airtable base, we have 3 different tables here. So one for bugs and issues, team members, and features. So Glide recognized all the data we had in our existing Airtable base and then created these different tabs for that. And then if we click into one of these, Glide looked at the row. So the first screen is showing a list, so all of the rows in our table. And then if we click on one of these list items, it's going to show the details of that individual row. So like this individual row right here, it's kind of the same thing if we look at this expand record inside of Airtable, where we can see the record in kind of like a linear format. That's the same thing here. So you can see we have the bug name, the priority, and so on and so forth. So what I told you what we were trying to do was to view these bugs from our mobile device and then also add and edit them. So for the sake of time, I'm going to ignore the features and the team members tab. And let's just zero in on just adding bugs and issues. So the first thing I always like to do is get this list looking nice. So I notice here that there's a spot for an image, but not all of these have an image in them. So one cool feature in Glide is you can generate an image just to kind of make it prettier. Images really just help an app look better. So I'm going to come over to the data editor and go to the bugs and issues table. And you can see this is basically a spreadsheet view of the Airtable base. So it's like this is Glide is like ported in our Airtable data, and then this is what it looks like inside of Glide. So what I'm going to do to generate an image is just next to this name column, I'm going to click on the arrow and then click add column to right. And then I'm going to call this cover image. And then Glide gives you a ton of different columns that are really helpful when doing things like this. But the one I'm looking for is this generate image. So this is going to add a column next to name. And then the input for this is just going to be the name. So I'm going to say, look at the name here and then generate an image. And let's use the mesh image type. And so now for each one of these, we have this unique image. And then inside of the app here, I can click on my list and then go to image and change that to cover image. And now each one of these has this nice little unique mesh image going on. So a quick tour of Glide. I mentioned before we have different tabs. So you can see here we have the bug and issues tabs. So that's here. And then you can think about this like going down in like in hierarchy. On each tab, you're going to have components. So like if we click here, you can see all of the components within the screen. And then when we click on an individual component, we have properties. And those are over here on the right-hand side of the screen, where we can then edit all the different specific properties for each one of those components. So as I click on different ones, we have different options.
Hey, Darren, quick question that I think makes sense to answer right now.
Sure.
Is it possible to pass the data back to Airtable? I think specifically he might be talking about the image, but if you could just answer that question generally, I think that would be helpful for the group.
Yeah, great point. So Glide is basically creating a sync to Airtable. So it's not just, you're not importing data into Glide and then it's in Glide forever. Glide is, whenever you make updates, it's going to send those back to Airtable. So like if I come to, let's see if I find, so lost some recorded videos. So let's look at this record. And then I search here for lost some recorded videos. So if I come here and let's just put a little emoji after the videos here and then click on done. So we can see that's been updated inside of Glide. And then if we go back to our Airtable base, we should see that update come through here in a moment. And it varies in how fast it does it.
That's
There we
awesome. So it's a two-way sync.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and then I think there's, I'd have to look at the documentation, but Glide will like regularly look at Airtable to grab the data and pull it back into Glide as well. So whenever you make an update in Glide, it'll write it to Airtable, and then updates made in Airtable will be synced back to Glide as well. So in short, a two-way sync. Thank you, sir. All right, so let's continue on, and we'll update this list view here. I noticed these bugs are getting, what's it called? They're not wrapping, so they're getting capped off there. So I'm going to click on Allow Text Wrapping to show all of that. And then we have some options here for showing additional data. So maybe we want to show things like the status, and we can do the priority as well. So I think that's a good starting point. Let's go ahead and show you how to edit the individual views here as well. There's a lot of data here, so I think it'd be helpful for us just to kind of zero in on a few things. I think when you're dealing with bugs, it's important to know the status they are in. Priority is also important. And then we can also show like the description and the bug source. And then we'll do attachments as well. We'll make sure all those are good field types. One thing here, this open date is I don't like the way that data is formatted. And Glide's actually pulling this in as like a text value. So if I come here and edit this and change the value or the type, I can change this to a date time. And then I can pick out date only. And now Glide's going to format this as like the month, day, year. So when I display this in the app, it's going to be a nice, more readable format. So let's go ahead and show all of those items here on this detail screen. For the title, I'm going to display that new cover image that we created. I'm going to make that a little bit shorter. And let me actually do, is it rounded? Yeah, rounded edges there. And then I'm actually going to clear out the name and priority here because I'm going to show those below. Next, I want to add a component. And I know I want to display the name of the bug. So I'm going to click or search for text. And then I can just drag this into here. Now that shows the name there. And let's do an H2 or headline. Well, headline, we'll go with 2 for now. All right. There's another component that I really like in Glide apps called a table component. Let me drag that in. And this gives us, well, I'll show you in a second. But if we add in like the status, the priority, we can do the open date for when it was added. This gives you like a table view of, just kind of condenses the data a little bit. And then now I already have the status, already have the open date. We'll leave off days old and clear off these other ones. And then, yeah, so the description and bug source, those are good too. And then on some of these, they have the attachment as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add a link here. And this one doesn't have an attachment, but for the ones that do have an attachment or a photo uploaded to them, that link would show there. So this is really helpful. So you don't have to like add conditional logic for like, if this is empty, don't show it. Glide does that automatically. All right, so now we have a nice little list. We have a way to view the bugs. Let's go ahead and talk about updating these. So I should give you a little teaser of this earlier. So out of the box, Glide will generate a form for you to edit these bugs as well. And let's just go ahead and tweak this a little bit. So we have priority and then an image. For our attachments, I don't actually want to restrict it to an image. So instead of doing an image picker, I'm going to choose a file picker for that. And so we have name, priority, status, description, bug source. I think that's good. Yeah, that's great for now. Cool. And so now, like whenever I make updates, like to the priority, I can change this to high, and that would then sync back here and then sync back to Airtable as well. And then the other thing we might want to do is add a new bug as well, right from our mobile app. And I don't actually, I basically want the same view over here that I did on the edit screen. So if Glide gives us the ability to copy and paste. So if I come here to edit, I can come over to my components, or even on the screen here, I think I can do copy all. And then if I go back to the list view here, click on plus, I can delete all. It's going to clear out the screen, and then I can paste, and then that pastes in all the different fields that we created on the other screen there. But there is one field that we do need to populate in addition here, which is the opened date. So remember, we have the open date here. And so this would be whenever we add the item. So Glide has this cool thing where it'll just populate the date the value is added whenever you submit this new ticket. So if we come down to special values, we can use the current date and time to populate the open date. Actually, I guess we don't need to do that. I think Airtable is doing that on their side. So that must be a special value or special field type on the Airtable side for the open date. So I think we're all good there. Cool. I'm gonna go and test out adding here. So I'll do test, new bug. We'll leave all that blank and add that. And then let me scroll through here. We have it, we're seeing it on the Glide side. And then if we come to Airtable, we can see that new bug there. So now we're able to add things directly to Airtable from our Glide app. And so now the fun part is we've built this in 10, 20 minutes. We have now an app. Let's go ahead and publish this. And that's when we get into like the settings side. So with Glide, we can choose a new icon. So this is a bug app. So I'll search for bug. Do the ladybug. We'll leave the name as bug tracker. For design, Glide is, in addition to being no code, one thing that we don't really talk about enough, I think, is Glide is also no design, meaning that all the different components, you don't have a lot of control over how they are formatted, but that also means you don't really have to think about that. It just looks great out of the box. And one of the components of that is basically you choose one color that is applied to your whole entire app. And so here I'm going to change the color of my app to what would look good with the red ladybug. Maybe this yellow I think would look good. And then I'm going to choose a bold color theme. That's going to put the color kind of front and center there. And then turn off match device theme. And then Glide gives you a few different typographies, typefaces. Since we are developers, I'll use this this one that looks kind of code-like. And then for privacy, I'm going to make sign-in optional for now, and then make it so that anyone can sign in. Or maybe only team editors. I think that's good. All right, so let me go ahead and publish this. I'm going to click on the publish button and publish the app. And then let me copy this and set into my browser. All right, cool. So now I have an app that's on my browser. But the cool thing here is that if you are watching and this app is still live, if you're watching the recording, is you should be able to take out your phone, and I'm going to do this live with you just to make sure it works, and scan this QR code in the top right, and you should be able to see this app on your phone. And what that also means is you should be able to add new bugs. Keep it clean, please, if you want to add anything. But if you want to interact with us, I'll go ahead and add a new bug here for my phone. So we'll say Darren's bug, give it a priority. And let me choose a file. And I'm going to take a photo from that file picker. So you can see me here. Use photo. So yeah, we can see there live, someone has just added happy bug. I'm going to add mine as well. So let's see if Aaron, mine might take a moment to come through. There we go, Darren's bug. There it is. So now mine has been added, and I added this image here. So we can click on that and see my beautiful face in all of its glory. Just added right there. And then the great thing about this is if we go back to Airtable, we can see all of these new bugs getting added from our phones. So someone's added an image here of a cool, that looks like Costco, someone in Costco. And then we have Keith's bug, and all that is getting added. Great lesson. Thank you for that. So cool. I could add more features to this. And if we have time, we can talk about doing that later. But I wanted to just finish off my presentation before we get to Q&A with just some resources for you. So let me pull back up the slide deck here. We can go through these. So what we just showed you was I copied a out-of-the-box Airtable template. We explored Airtable a little bit. We talked about how Airtable is a really good data source. And then I showed you how to create an app interface using Glide on top of that Airtable base. If you want to learn more about Glide, we do have Glide University. And this, you can go to docs.glideapps.com. We have really thorough documentation on everything you'd want to do with Glide, as well as some more details on interfacing with Airtable. And there's also some amazing videos on there as well. I learned Glide by watching all of their YouTube videos in one day. It took me like 9 hours, and this was like a year and a half ago, but that's how I learned. Glide really invests a lot into their video education, so definitely check out Glide University. Another thing that Glide prides itself in, and one thing that I'm happy to be a part of, is our Glide community. So I'm sure you might be I know you're part of no-code devs and other communities, but if you want to zero in on fixing issues or figuring out how to do things with Glide, Glide has an amazing community. They make sure that everything is always answered, usually within an hour. And all of our experts, including myself, are in that community, making sure that everybody has the resources they need. If you have a project and you want to use Glide and are trying to figure something out and don't really know, how to do something, and you think it'd be beneficial to talk to an expert, you can check out Glide Experts. I'm a Glide expert myself, a certified expert, and experts can help you answer specific questions on how to do something, and then they can also help you build an entire project if you don't have time to figure out how to do it yourself. And then a new program we started recently were our certified ambassadors. So these are people like myself as well, who actually go out into other communities or the communities that they're in, and they share Glide, because we want everyone to use Glide, and we want to create 1 billion new software developers by 2030. The last thing I want to mention is, Glide has really done a lot of really cool things. You can build a lot of cool things with Glide. But we've also built some really cool stuff, and some really cool brands are using Glide to really just make life easier within their companies. So brands like Zoom and BMC, Kazoo, ITV, PGA, American Express, these are all companies that are using Glide within their companies for maybe small things, maybe big things. One company that I've been able to work with that is really just going off to the races with Glide is the PGA, the Professional Golfers Association of America. They host these really crazy events where golf tournaments, and they use Glide to run a number of things, from managing how many people are in bleachers or in stands, to managing lost and found, to managing, a number of different things. They use Glide all over the place, and there's a ton you can do with it. So Glide is awesome. I want to remind you that it's easy to glide. And with that, I want to open it up for questions.
That was awesome. Thanks so much, Darren. I know I learned a lot. There's a lot of tools out there. There are a lot of options out there to build things with no code. Glide is clearly a great option, but I think for a lot of us that dabble in lots of tools, it's amazing how much better these products get from time in between the times that we use them. So there was a ton of new features that I saw in there that I'm super excited about. So just thanks so much for that. There is a question here in the chat: syncing multiple image from attachments field. So yeah, I guess Airtable has multiple images that can be in an attachment field. How does Glide handle that?
Yeah, I think right now that's still an open question. So you can definitely check out the community forums for the latest on that one.
Gotcha. Awesome. I think we're caught up on questions. Are there any other questions? If you have any burning questions, this is the time to ask them for sure. Darren will be able to help you. And if he can't get, answer the question, I'm sure he'll be able to get it from somebody on the Glide team that knows it. So if you have any Glide questions or use cases or anything, if you're wondering if it's possible, this would be a great time to ask. And if there aren't any other questions, we can wrap it up. But give another 30 seconds here to see if there are any more questions coming in. In the meantime, what's the best way to reach you, Darren, if something comes up after this workshop and there's a question?
Yeah, so in the Glide community, if you're on there, you can reach me. Just search for Darren, and I'll pop up. You can reach out there. I'm also on Twitter, and you can connect with me with @NoCodeDarren, and that should be good. And awesome. Also a Glide expert. So if you go to Glide experts page, you can find me there as well. So whatever's the easiest way for you.
Perfect. Another question: can you build a job board on Glide?
A job board? Absolutely.
Is there a template for that? There might be.
I mean, we can go look. I would be surprised if there's not. So in addition to like the Airtable template board or templates that we showed, Glide also has an extensive template library as well, with both free and paid templates. So I'll just search for job. Here we have staffing assignments for pages, but then if we go to the apps, you can see we have templates here for jobs, job offers. That'd be like a job board, I think. Applicants tracker, different things like that. So definitely some options for you to explore. But just from like just thinking out loud perspective, a job board, you need to add jobs. You need people to be able to apply to those jobs, and that's kind of like the basics of it. So I think you would just create a table that had different jobs in it, display those in an app, and then give other people the option to like submit their application, which would just be like their email, their name, and their file. And we kind of showed you kind of how to do that today in today's demo. So definitely doable.
Perfect. There's another question here, and then we'll wrap up. And if there's any other questions, you could definitely send them to me, art@NoCodeDevs, or you can find Darren on Twitter or in the Glide forums. But here's another question: for a typical project, do you normally just use the templates, or do you create the spreadsheets yourself from scratch?
Yes. So on pretty much all of my projects, I always start from scratch. So I kind of get the big picture of what the project's going to look like. I choose something to start with, so like the core features, the MVP, and then I will create the table structure. So figure out how many tables we need, what data we need to store in each one of those tables. So what data do I need to know about my users? What data do I need to know about what my users are doing? And then once I have that kind of data structure set up, then I would go and then build the app. So that's my typical workflow, is starting from scratch. But if you are not an expert and you just kind of want to play around, then I would definitely suggest starting with a template. And then once you kind of get familiar, my next recommendation is to pick out a fun use case to build an app for. So whether it's to share pictures of your dog or track meals that you and your family are eating, something totally random, and just go build something fun with Glide. That's what I really love about it.
Great. That's awesome. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. This was, I know for myself, who's had some Glide experience, extremely useful. So I'm sure if Glide is new to you, this is probably really great news, because Glide is super powerful. We will, again, this has been recorded, so we'll do some light editing, and then we'll go ahead and send out this video, and we'll publish it on your YouTube so you can find it. If you register for this event, which everyone who's listening right now has registered clearly, you'll get an email with a link to the video as well. So anything else, Darren? Anything else that you want to say before we sign off?
I want to encourage everyone, if you're interested in no code, give Glide a try. I know I have to say that, but I truly mean it. I love the platform, and it's only getting better every week. So try Glide.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Darren, and thanks everyone for being a part of the No Code Devs community. We are doing another event next week, which is how to build a AI chat bot with a tool called WeWeb, which is a front end builder, but it's back end agnostic, and you can tie into APIs. So different type of tool, but that should be a really interesting event as well. So hopefully we'll see you there. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.